And where do you reside now?
I reside in New Orleans and Algiers.
And how long have you resided there?
I've been there for like 12 years.
And how much education have you had?
I have high school and 16 college credits in computer and eye mechanics.
Any military experience?
Navy.
And for how long?
I was on SEAL team 1 year, and I was gunnery sergeant. Year and a half, I'm sorry.
And your present occupation?
I work with a gentleman named Tony Auto Repair. I work on small engines at all the loads and all the stores in New Orleans.
Were you here for the Hurricane Katrina?
Yes, I was, sir.
And would you describe for me the events of September 4th, 2005?
I would describe for you for September the 2nd and 2004. I mean the 4th of September. Second, I drove around in my car because I saw a lot of mailboxes driving around. I thought they were doing postal service that day. So I went to the mailbox place in Algiers on Round Haven in school. I witnessed the trucks and all like that. I was checking to see what they do in mail, which I thought was very peculiar that you got mail trucks and nobody stopping nobody's house because I had to drop some mail off. I had to drop a check off for my car insurance. So I thought if I go there and drop it off, it'd be easy to wait on the mailman to come by my house. As I went there, I went by Haven School. I had helped a police squad car jump them off. I knew they had police and medical assistants over there. And
could I cut in just for a second? When you said you helped a police car jump them off, what do you mean by that?
I assist the officer with jumper cables and jump this battery off in the squad car that he was driving.
Okay, continue.
As I left there, I knew they had medical attention and police over there. On September the 4th, I was going at a friend on Sage Street. If you're familiar with Algiers and where Wendy's and Wendy's and Riley's at, further up is called a street called Sage Street. It leads right back behind Chuck E. Cheese. As I was talking to a friend, I heard a gunshot. And I saw people running to see where the gunshot happened. It was a gentleman named Henry King that got shot. He landed right there where the stop sign was at. His brother came from the housing area and ran over there and asked me to assist him. He jumped in front of my car, so I had no reason but to help him. And him and his uncle picked his brother up and put him in my car. So I figured that as I touched the back felt a slight pulse on his neck. I figured the best way to go is to bring him to Haven School because I knew they had police and medical assistants there. But as I arrived there, I was greeted with M16 with laser sightings and 9mm in our face. He put it in front of our car. The police asked us, told me to stop my car because I was driving there, put my car in gear, get out the car. As we got out of the car, they frisked us and everything. Henry King's brother was acting kind of funny because like his brother got shot. And anyone y'all would understand if somebody, one of your family members gets shot, you wouldn't understand the situation. So he was like up and jumpy and everything like that and said that he would hurt the person or he shoot the person that shot his brother. He said it in front of 15 police officers. One slender police officer came through the crowd and slapped him so hard, I felt the slap. We was in handcuffs and everything, and they dragged us behind the squad car.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Ahead,
you
sir.
said one officer came out of the crowd. Are you referring to a crowd of police officers?
Yes, sir. African American came through the crowd.
The officer, it was a black officer that came through the
Yes,
crowd?
sir, he was.
And describe again what it is that he did.
He took his hand and went so far back and slapped Kevin King, knocked him so far was unconscious when he hit the ground. And that's when they put the handcuffs on us. But they did frisk us first. I know we had no weapons.
So at the time that this officer struck him, and what is his name?
Kevin King.
Kevin King.
Henry
At the time
King
that the
brother.
officer struck Kevin King, had you all already been frisked for weapons?
Yes, sir, we have.
Were any weapons recovered?
No, sir, we had no weapons.
This attack took place then when you all were cleared of weapons.
Yes, sir.
Continue.
When he slapped him to the ground, he put me, his uncle, and Kevin King in handcuffs and put us hands behind the police squad car. As they moved my car away from where I was out drived up at, they moved it to the side. They opened the trunk of my car, taking things out my car, like a gas can and some tools. I had a toolbox. I had jumper cables and stuff like that out the car. And then they had the guy to come take pictures of the car as we was handcuffed behind the police squad car. As he was trying to take pictures of me, me, Kevin King, and his uncle, the police officers told him, don't take pictures of us. At that time, as the guy left, they threatened to shoot us in our legs, and the dogs never on us. As I was hit with an M16 rifle, kicked in my stomach, as well as his uncle was too. Kevin King was kind of like out at the time, so they did not do him no harm.
I want to get a little, can you tell me something else about that? Where were you at the time that you say you were struck by this rifle and kicked in the stomach?
I was behind the police squad car sitting down.
And were you handcuffed at that time?
Yes, sir, I was.
And what about the uncle? What was the uncle's name? Henry Glover's uncle's name?
Yeah, I think his name was Rob Williamson, and I just assumed that's what he said. That was his name.
And what did the police do to him?
They hit him with the M16 rifle and kicked him in the stomach too.
And what position was he in at that time?
We was in handcuffs, sitting down behind a squad car.
And how would you describe the blow that you received?
He hit me so hard he hurt my jaw, and he kicked me in my stomach so hard I was barely trying to breathe.
And could you see what kind of blow the officer or officers gave to Henry King's uncle?
The same blow, sir. Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay, as they did that, they brought something to our attention talking about how tourists came down from New Orleans and got raped and mugged and called us racial names and all like that and tell us what they were going to do to us by shooting us in the leg and sicking dogs on us. You had white and black cops there.
Will you describe how many officers hit you and the race of each officer?
It was two officers. They was both white, and they did the same thing to Henry's brother, uncle, that was there.
Was it the same two officers that?
No, it was two other officers.
So there were a total of 4 white officers involved in this? And were they in uniform or plain clothes?
They was in tactical uniform, as you see in that picture up there, similar to that.
And you are, by saying tactical uniform similar to the picture, you're referring to the screen on the wall behind the judges.
There was blue pants with police shirts with their names on them. I can barely see the names because, like, what happened, I was far a distance from them. When they got closer to me, I tried to read the name, but they had it covered, sir.
When you say they had them covered, what do you mean?
As well as the name showing, like, on my uniform here, it was covered where you couldn't really see it because it had a black tape on it or something like that. But there were police officers.
The witness is referring to the name tag on his jacket, and you're saying that it was covered, that their name tags were covered with black tape?
Yeah, they had something over the name where you couldn't really see the name. You can barely read it, like there was a sergeant or something like that. You can read that part, but it had a thing over the name as you look at it.
Now, will you go on? You were telling us before about items that were being removed from your vehicle.
Yes, sir. A gas can, a toolbox, jumper cables, some power tools.
Did they give you any reason why they were removing these items?
No, sir. They just took them out the car.
Were they, who did the items belong to?
It belonged to me.
And how old or how new were these items?
The power tools wasn't that new. The toolbox, all the tools in there was very old. I used them at work because I used to do maintenance work a long time ago.
Did those tools in any way have the appearance of items that had just been carried new out of a store?
No, sir, I do not steal, and I teach my kids the same way. It's where to work to get what you want and take anything easily.
And after they removed the items, what did they do with them?
They put him on a boat. That boat that was on the side, right around where my car was at.
And then what happened next?
The gentleman took my ID badge that I had around my neck with my driver's license, my credit cards, and money was in it. He mentioned a wisecrack, telling me, "Oh, you got your Capital One card, I see." I guess he was trying to use it, but he was just, so I was smarter than him. I realized to use the cell phone and cut the Capital card off so he wouldn't be able to use it.
Now,
I wanted to get rich off my process.
At this point, how much time has elapsed since you originally pulled up?
We're looking at about an hour and 45 minutes, as well as Henry King is in the back of my car bleeding.
And so, has Henry King received any attention from the police during this hour and 45 minutes that he's in the back of your car bleeding?
No, sir. The officers made kind of wisecracks about that.
What sort of wisecracks?
Well, we will see how long we can weigh him out.
We'll see how long we can.
Weigh the gentleman out means see how long he can last before they give him medical attention.
At any point in time during that hour and 45 minutes from the time you drove up, did they ever give him any sort of examination?
No, sir.
Did any medical squads or ambulance or others come up and examine him or give him any first aid?
No, sir.
Any officers give him any first aid?
No, sir. Even when he was taking my radar, taking my car, that was in my car, they must check to see was he still living.
And what happened then with the vehicle?
They drove my vehicle, said they bring it to the 4th District Police Station. By the time we was moved from the squad car to the inside the school and was handcuffed to a bench that was at Haven School.
You were brought inside the school?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you see what happened to your vehicle? Did you see your vehicle leave?
Yes, sir. I see the officer riding off my vehicle with 2 flares in his pocket, and I realized that I don't have a vehicle no more after that.
And what kind of uniform was he wearing?
He was wearing a blue tactical uniform, similar to what I have on, but it's blue, and it has a name right there on the side like I'd have on my uniform.
And what was his race?
White.
And where was Henry King as he drove off?
He was in the back of the seat in my Malibu.
Was anybody giving him any medical attention at that time?
No, sir, they was not.
And then what happened next?
As I was put to the back of school and handcuffed to the bench, the woman knew me from the 2nd of September when I helped the police squad car out, because I asked the military guy, could he get her attention, and she came over there and asked me, why am I chained to this thing? I said, the officer chained me to this thing, and so she talked to one of the police officers that was a sergeant's son, and he came and let me go. As he was walking me outside the fence, I saw the cop that had my ID badge and my Capital One card and my money in his pocket. So I asked him, could I get my driver's license back, because I need my driver's license if I ever left New Orleans, which I did leave New Orleans. But when I asked him for it, he had a racial attitude about it, and I just said, let me go and get my keys that they threw to the side till I can go to my house. And I called my wife and everything, and they came down there the 5th day. I left New Orleans that Saturday, and as I left down there, I tried to come back. I came back to try to find my car and everything. But
before you get to that part, would you describe the officer that had your items, what he was wearing and what his race was?
He was wearing a blue tactical uniform similar to what I have on. Mostly everybody was wearing blue tactical uniforms, and some of them wearing civilian clothes, but they had their badges in front of it, so you know there was police or no one else.
Could you tell what police department?
NOPD police. They was the one at Haven School.
And did you say that is it your belief that the reason why you were released at that time was because a female officer identified you from the time that you gave another officer in front of the school a jump start for a disabled car?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea what situation you might have been in if that officer hadn't recognized you, or if you hadn't given the jump start on that day?
I'd probably be I probably would not be here before your faces like I am now, because I probably would have been deceased, possible way he was talking.
And you said at some point that you left New Orleans?
Yes, I did. I left that Saturday over the weekend because my wife came from Texas to pick me up. I left there, went through Texas, and went to Lake Charles. I have Hurricane Katrina on tape and Hurricane Rita.
And then you did return at some point
Yes, I
in
did.
time?
I came back to look for my car, and I was, well, when my family came back with me, we tried to get best aid we can, and we knew some police officers that were still good for New Orleans. They gave me information to call Homeland Security, which September 10th, I talked to Homeland Security, plus a couple FBI agents at my house, and they took my case over and they went back to school and talked to the woman and came and told me they talked to the woman, and she verified my case.
Did those agents ask you a lot of questions about what had happened to you?
Yes, sir, they did. They drilled me very good, but I stand up and answer all the questions as best I can.
When you say drilled,
they was interested in why that my car got seized in that situation. They told me that my car was under investigation. That's what I was told, but I had no paperwork when I left that building.
did they make any promises in terms of helping you find your vehicle?
They said they'll do what they can. And they did do what they can.
What happened?
I called them November the 3rd because I knew that date. It was payday. That's why I called.
How did you find out that your car had been found?
I called the Homeland Security guy that gave me his card, and he called me back in 30 minutes and told me where my car was at.
Where did he say your car was?
My car was at the 4th District Police Station on the levee, torched. And I have pictures to prove that.
And what did you do when you found that information out?
I went up there and took pictures of the car that I have in my hand. It was a 2001 Chevrolet Malibu. The rims was $2,000 on this car. And I have pictures to show it. I went up there. When I went up there, old man came up there.
Before you get to that, I'll just introduce something into evidence. Justice Elijah, what number am I up to in my exhibits?
You are up to, I think you're up to number 8.
8.
So this will be 8.
This would be 8.
This will be 8. Okay. I like these marked exhibits 8 and 9.
Thank you.
Will you take a look at the pictures first and tell me, do you recognize them?
Yes, I do.
And will you describe first what's seen in the picture in Exhibit 8?
Well, it was white, but now you look at it, it's not white no more. It's been burnt to a crisp. This is my car.
And the make and model and year of the car?
2002 Chevrolet Malibu. And I'm still paying for that vehicle. Plus a truck that's outside now.
Okay, and then you're holding up above that Exhibit 9, and there are 2 photographs that are there. Will you describe those 2 photographs?
One is the inside of my window of the car. You can still see where the seat used to be at, and you still see where the gearbox was at. The other one on the side is the back of my car where somebody wrote graffiti on it, but that's how my car looks. And
who was the photographer of those pictures?
I took these pictures with my camera, a 35 millimeter Olympia. If you look at the bottom picture, I took that picture because when the guy told me that it was a guy that was burnt up in my car, I tried to take it as close as I can where you can see some remains of that person, even much it was burnt to a crisp.
Will you repeat that again? You said you went to the station, behind the station, you were taking pictures of your burnt car, and what happened?
Oh, elderly gentleman came up there as I was up on the ridge taking the pictures and said, that's the car the guy got burnt up in. That's why I took a picture of the inside the best way I could with a zoom lens to try to show you that that person was still in that car. His mother buried an empty casket.
And how would you describe the elderly man?
Like his age.
Whose age? Let the witness show that he pointed to one of the distinguished justices. the one sitting closest to him on the table. And how was the elderly man's personality and demeanor and believability?
He was very nice, and he had his mind right when he told me that. That's why I took a picture inside as close as I could, so you can see something of that nature of what he's trying to say.
And what was your interpretation of his words when he said what he said to you?
I was shocked at first, but then I was intrigued to take a closer picture.
Did you have a chance to have any other words with him about what he had told you?
No, sir, he's like an angel. He came and disappeared. But I assume he still lives in that area.
I have one more exhibit. I will mark Exhibit 10.
This is a picture of Henry King, the gentleman that was in my car that was dead. Thanks.
And what is the document that you're looking at? Will you describe the document? What is the document?
I'm looking at a funeral thing for him that his people gave him. When I went to the funeral, I was greeted very meanly at first until his mother spoke out, Regina King. She said, "That's the guy that tried to save my son's life." When she told them that, I was treated with greatly respect because I did try to save this gentleman's life. All means as possible, because I feel if that was my brother on the street like that, I would have did the best thing for him too. And I do not discriminate from race. Anybody that was on that street that day and I was in my car, I would have helped. And I tried my best to save this man's life. As I told his mother, as I hugged her and told her, and she said, "I'm sorry you lost your car." I said, "Don't worry about it, I got something a little bit better. But you lost a son, and you buried an empty casket with your son in it, because he was in the back of my Malibu. And that's where he stands. And this very day, my car still stands back there. So if anyone y'all want to get a closer picture, my car is right there on the levee. It ain't moving no time soon.
If I can, just a couple of... I know it's obvious, but how do you feel about what's happened to you and what's happened to Mr. King and his family after all of this?
They say justice is blind. I hope today these 8 members will see the light and try their best to figure out this problem that we have here with NOPD police and the means of what they do for New Orleans.
And how do you feel now after your experiences, first as someone who had gone out of his way to help police when they had problems, to somebody who's gone through what you've gone through now, and not only the individual officers, but any who may have additional knowledge of the fact that a vehicle burned in the back of the police station?
My grandma once said, trust the law enforcement. But either me, the police, or my 9mm, I think I take my chances with my 9mm. I think I live a little bit safer at night.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for hearing my story. Thank you, judges, and I hope you understand. And if you have any questions, I will be around to answer. Thank you very much.
This concludes our portion. I would just, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we had to make sure they have questions. My apologies.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Ouais. Oui, d'après tous les témoignages que j'ai déjà écoutés là depuis ce matin,
according to all the testimonies I've heard since this morning,
je me pose des questions.
I have questions.
Bon, il est dit qu'on a des responsables dans son pays qui doivent faire appliquer la loi contre l'arbitraire.
We are told that there are those responsible in the country to implement the law against arbitrary action,
Qui disent qu'on est dans un pays de droit.
and who say that we're in a country that abides by the law,
On doit protéger tous les citoyens contre l'arbitraire.
and that all citizens must be protected against arbitrary action, detention,
J'ai
violence.
du mal à comprendre que ce genre de crime se passe dans ce pays-là.
I'm still having a hard time believing that
est-ce
this
que-
type of crime
Donc,
is occurring at this time in this country.
Donc, je voudrais demander au témoin,
I would like to
Bien.
ask the witness,
donc, est-ce qu'il s'est adressé en ce sens-là aux différents responsables, que ce soit au niveau local
did you call
Au-
upon
au niveau de
the
l'État.
authorities either at the local level,
ou au niveau de l'État,
state level,
ou même au niveau fédéral,
or even on a federal level
pour dénoncer ce genre de choses?
to denounce this action?
Ouais,
Yes.
et quelle part de responsabilité donc ils ont pris à tous les niveaux
And at all levels, therefore, what levels of responsibility
dans
do they have?
dans ce genre de dossier?
Yes, I have. I called upon national security and the FBI that took such a situation. As they would told her, as they would tell me, it best not to really involve myself too much in that situation. But I decided to take a stand because my family's far away from here. If anything should happen to me, I'm not worried about myself, but I care for what I love. And I did take a situation in hand, and they told her the best thing for her to be quiet and bury an empty casket. But I will not bury an empty casket. If there's room for me in that casket, I will be there. And I bet that for everything I have. And I'm not really a gambling man, but I will take a stake. Merci. 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 Merci.
Just, no, we have some more questions.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
You said-
Microphone, please.
Microphone,
Sorry.
ma'am.
You said that the gentleman that was slapped by the black police officer,
Yeah, his name was Kevin King,
Kevin King,
Henry King brother.
was he hysterical?
He was really, yeah, you would say that, because he said something like that in front of 15 police officers, but I assumed that they shouldn't do him no harm. He was, cuffed.
Other than saying what he said, did he act in a certain way?
Well, you figured out if that was your brother getting shot, how would you act?
No, I'm not asking
Oh,
that. I'm asking
okay.
how was he acting?
Hype, like, you would say.
Okay.
Wanted the best medical attention for his brother, as if you or me.
And you said that the black officer came up out of the
He
crowd.
came between the crowd, in the middle of the crowd, and just slapped him when he said that he'll
Okay.
shoot.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You said that the black officer came up and slapped him. How many black officers were among the police?
It was 3, and you had like 6 police officers,
Okay,
counting 3 black persons.
okay. And you said this happened on September 2nd?
September the 4th, ma'am.
Okay, the obituary says the 2nd. Is
I know it's misfornate.
It's
I
what?
want to tell you, it's miswritten, because it happened on the 4th.
Okay.
I want to bring that to your attention. I'm sorry. I'll lead the way to the situation.
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, when you were released, because the female officer identified you, you left, what happened to Kevin King and his uncle?
I'm glad you asked that question, ma'am. I'm sorry I lead that way out the situation. They asked me to go to the housing project where they were staying at, to find their girlfriends and everything like that, and I brought them there where they was at to tell them where they was at so they can get them. Right now, they're resident in Texas now. They refuse to come back to New Orleans since the situation.
So were they released that day when they brought the girlfriends back?
Yes, ma'am, I think they were, because like I heard they was.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Gentlemen, go ahead.
Estamos evidentemente ante terribles casos de impunidad.
We're here
Impunidad.
facing, here as in other cases, terrible situations of impunity.
¿Qué pasa, señor fiscal? ¿Qué pasa en este caso cuando el señor Kim asesinado brutalmente?
What happens for the prosecution when Mr. King here is assassinated
Y su familia expresa que no creen en la justicia.
and family says they don't believe anymore in the legal system?
Dicen que la justicia es ciega
They say that justice should be blind.
y no proceden a denunciar.
but then yet they're not willing to go ahead and to denounce.
¿Existe alguna vía jurídica
Is there any legal or juridical means
que si la familia no quiere denunciar,
that would enable, if, for example, family does not wish to come forward to place denunciation,
y hay un testigo,
but there's a witness?
cómo ese caso
How could that case
podemos buscar la vía para que no quede impune?
be pushed so that it doesn't remain here as is the case today, without justice being brought?
Porque si la familia no denuncia,
Because if the family doesn't denounce,
es un derecho de todos nosotros,
it should be a right of all of us,
de toda la humanidad,
of all humanity,
proceder a denunciar el caso.
to move forward and to denounce what happened here.
¿Qué haría usted en este caso?
What would you do in this case?
One, the family is trying to fight that situation, and like you said, justice is blind, but since y'all 9 members here, y'all might can shed a little light on that situation. But, like I said, they are trying to find out the best way they can, because the mother, the police told the best thing for her to be silent, but now I guess she's want to speak out voice. So when she did try to find her son, they told her this, that, and they gave her a runaround, as well as they gave the gentleman here before me the same situation they gave her. And they showed her body that they thought it was her son, but it was not.
This type of problem is one of the softest spots, or I would say one of the hardest spots, in terms of this system's ability to react to its own abuses. There have been all sorts of reports, and in my prior presentation, I introduced reports where the government on all levels is admitting to all sorts of levels of wrongdoing, misappropriation, fraud. When we get to the area of policing, and when we get to the area of race and policing, that's where the rubber no longer touches the road. And in all of those reports, there were, except for Congresswoman McKinney's report, which I will refer you to, there has been nothing critical of the way the police departments have acted, in the same way that there has been criticism of FEMA, of the federal administration, of the mayor, of the governor, and every other agency. And the wagons are pulled in a tight circle around police, and it's my opinion, since you asked me, that it's because of the role of police in society. And their role is to contain communities and people like the King family. And I don't know what their background is. Many times people who find themselves in the areas of being underemployed and oppressed are not even aware that they even have the rights to move forward, and where they are aware, they feel that there is not going to be any change. And so it's our role and my function. I'm only playing a prosecutor today for this. The rest of the time, I and others, such as Safe Streets, who came up with this original complaint, attempt to advocate on behalf of these families. So in this case, it would be to locate them, to let them know that they do have rights. They have a right of return. If you have a right of return after a hurricane, you have a right of return after you've been abused by the police. And to see if we can get them back here and then begin to, I had already talked to Mr. Tanner about an open records request to find out what reports DHS or the FBI may or may not have filed and what exists around this case, and then try to build something from there. And one other part is also that there needs to be organizing on behalf of the people to create the demand and the pressure. Tribunals like this and marches, demonstrations, whatever it takes to say that this is not going to be accepted.
William Tanner.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm observing here, and I'm going to turn this into a question and not a statement.
Go ahead, please.
I'll try very hard.
Try your best.
Is, yes, a balkanization, that is a cutting up of our complaints. We are indignant and moved and horrified about what you have told us. And as the prosecutor has just said, it is happening all over the country. My question to you is, if you knew that in another city, which I can name,
Go
but
ahead.
can I name it?
Go ahead.
Philadelphia, on the 9th of December, there is going to be a conference documenting police brutality in the same way and on the same level that you have been describing. If city to city all this is documented, we will find that the patterns are similar, and that the designs are similar, and that the strategies are similar, and we rise from the individual to the global, and we become stronger, and it's in Philadelphia on the 9th of December. Question mark, because this is a question.
Then I won't try to debate with you then, ma'am. Question? I seen you raise your hand up. Go ahead, ma'am. I feel like I'm on the hot seat, and I'm not the president of the United States either. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oui, après avoir écouté le précédent témoin
After having heard this, your testimony
et ce témoignage qui se recoupe,
and the various testimonies which are grouped
d'ailleurs,
together,
je salue le courage de ces deux témoins.
first I would like to salute the courage of
Et
both witnesses who come forward.
je voudrais relever la complexité du deuxième cas parce que dans la mesure, et c'est connu partout dans le monde,
And to underscore the complexity of this case, because
dans la mesure où la
it's
mère
known throughout the world that to the
n'a pas
extent
eu
that the mother
le corps de son fils,
was not able to have the body.
il y a un problème qui se pose pour toutes les cultures, il n'y aura jamais de deuil.
It was a question of cultures. There will not be any mourning,
Et ça pose un autre devoir de vérité,
which poses the other question of truth,
c'est-à-dire le droit d'enterrer son fils.
the right to bury your son.
Alors, moi, je pense que pour aider à établir la vérité,
To help establish the truth,
il y a une question qui s'impose.
there's a question that is of the first order.
J'ai écouté attentivement
I listened attentively,
et cela m'a rappelé une des pièces à conviction que monsieur le procureur a citées
it brings to mind a
Et qui
piece
se
of
trouve
some of the evidence that was
dans
brought to this
le
court,
document de Cynthia McKinney,
and that is in the document drafted by Cynthia McKinney,
lorsqu'elle rappelle que le gouverneur
when she reminds us that
Fédéral,
the governor
a donné ordre de tirer.
gave an order to shoot.
Alors, je crois que ce gouverneur est démocrate.
And I believe that this governor is a Democrat.
Alors moi, je voudrais poser la question
I have a question
aux témoins.
to the witness.
Hein,
Go ahead.
considérez-vous
Do you consider
l'assassinat de votre ami,
the assassination of your friend
les brutalités que vous avez subies,
and the brutality that you that were inflicted upon you
comme étant le produit d'une politique délibérée, systématique,
Do you see this, that it's the result of a deliberate and systematic policy
sur des bases raciales?
on the basis of race?
C'est-à-dire non pas de simples bavures policières comme il peut en exister partout dans le monde.
Not just simple police misconduct as could exist, but more of a systematic one based on racial criteria.
Ma'am, I would like to answer that question that you just asked. I like to put everybody mind at ease. I like all y'all came in with your different accents. I really love them both. But on the 4th of September, I saw hell on earth. And it really shocked me to see all this. And I was told all this during the Denzel situation and the gentleman Henry King. I'm deeply hurt about it. I'm sorry that the police force that we pay our taxpayers' dollars is not really working out to satisfy the New Orleans people. I do not judge all police officers, but I do judge those ones that had did this gentleman the worst all of evil. And I wouldn't wish that on no one in this room. Even my worstest enemy, I would not wish that on. Because I come from a family, as my grandma taught me, to love one another as you love yourself. And I would teach my kids the same way. Do not hate the law enforcement, but be open-minded to every situation. And the question in your answer, ma'am, is this. Do I believe that we live in a democratic government? I can't really answer that question when I don't know really to put that in the situation for you to understand that way, because see, the government that you live in is different from mine. And right now, my people don't stand a chance here. But I would like to thank Safe Street and Mr. King for hearing my case. Finally, somebody decided to hear my words, and I hope my words pierce your heart as it pierced mine that night and that day. And I sleep with that dream every day of my life. It separates my family from me and everything because of this. But I thank all y'all, the warmness in this room. I thank y'all for letting me plead my case. I really thank y'all 9 judges there and everyone in this room. Thank you very much.
Any more before you go? I just want to make sure the judges have it. Some more judges have questions.
Any more questions?
Yeah, brother. Police brutality. Quand dans un état de droit, les brutalités policières sont aussi flagrantes à l'encontre d'une minorité.
When police misconduct is
Dans
so
un état de
flagrant
droit,
against a racial minority in a state of law,
à quoi sert la Constitution?
what does the Constitution, what's the worth of the Constitution?
Et que diraient les défenseurs de la Constitution quand cette minorité décide effectivement de se protéger elle-même, puisque...
And what would the law say if this minority decided to protect itself?
Parce que le procureur a bien rappelé, when government fails, the people should. Right? C'était une question. Merci beaucoup.
That's a question.
Answer to that question is they making their own constitution here in New Orleans, and as far as I see that, I don't have a chance. Snowball, I must say the snowball in hell to win, because it's like this: you go in you drive around, you have a nice vehicle and everything, you get pulled over by the cops. First thing they ask you, are you carrying any drugs or any weapons in your car? But as for me, when I drive around, first thing they ask me is get out of my car, ask me for my driver's license and insurance. As I go reach to get out of my car, they want to wave a gun in my face. So obviously, I try not to drive at night no more. I legal my driving to daytime driving.